If you have a job that you feel like sucks, this might be a good video for you. Today I'm going to talk about things I've learned from past jobs. Kind of want to say past sucky jobs or past bad jobs, but the jobs weren't necessarily bad or sucky. They just weren't what I wanted to be doing at the time. To give you some context, I graduated from college during the recession that lasted from 2007 to 2009. So if you're a millennial, you probably are familiar with what that time was like. And again, it looks like we may be entering into another recession. So these are some tips that maybe can inspire some hope in you or make you think about your jobs a little bit differently. In my case, I was going through my LinkedIn profile to export some information as a PDF, and it caused me to kind of reflect on the jobs I've had in the past and the lessons I learned from those jobs where I don't think I could have learned them any other way. So I am very grateful for some of the opportunities I had in my past. And I wanted to go over some of those jobs with you. These span everything from retail, restaurants, and call centers, illustrious call centers. So let me get into it. I'm going to go through these jobs in not a chronological order, but I will give you some background. I am an elder millennial, and I've been working since I was in high school, and my parents had to sign a form to release me to work, so I had a work permit. So I've pretty much been working since I was legally allowed to. So that would give you an idea of why I've had some really random and weird jobs. My first job was working in parades at Disneyland, well, dancing in parades at Disneyland. Then I went on to work in retail. Then I worked in restaurants. Then I worked in radio. Then I worked in a call center. Then I've done a bunch of other things since then. So that's just like the super quick version of my background. Let me do serving. If you've ever worked in a restaurant as a host or a server or even an expo or a chef, a bartender, anything like that, there are so many lessons to be learned from those jobs that you can apply to your quote unquote real jobs. We don't use that anymore. When I was in college and high school, we used to say real job just to mean any job that's full time, but all jobs are real jobs. So if you are still saying that, take that out of your vocabulary. One of the things I learned from serving that has served me many years after was weighing priorities, because if you're a server, you might be having to take a drink order from this table, deliver appetizers to this table, and then pick up plates from another table. These are all conflicting priorities at the same time, so you have to be able to prioritize tasks in order of importance. You don't want a new table to be sitting there looking around waiting like who's going to help us. You also don't want another table thinking, is our server off? Like, we have these plates here, we kind of want to order dessert, things like that. So balancing priorities, and that is something you're going to learn to do in any job you ever have after serving. And if you didn't learn it before serving, you learned it during serving. And not even serving, if you're a host or as well, you have to balance those priorities too. Do you want to sit this six top or this party that's been here for a while and put two tables together? So these are all priorities you have to balance, and learning to balance priorities, I think, is one of the best skills that I learned from working in restaurants. Another restaurant skill. This, hopefully you already learned this before you work in a restaurant or in any other type of job where you have to serve the public, but don't judge a book by its cover. Especially when you are in the service industry, you want to give great service to everyone that's in your section or whatever they call it now, but you can't just assume these people look this way, so they're not going to give me any money, because you really do not know. And that's a good lesson that you can carry on through the next chapter of your career and through the rest of your career too, is that just because someone looks a certain way or is dressed a certain way doesn't mean that they are a certain way. You might already learn this lesson earlier in life, but it definitely applies when you're working at a restaurant, because you're hoping to get, X amount of tip from every table. Hopefully it was 20+% or whatever it is now. So don't judge a book by its cover. You don't want to be judged by how you look. Call center. First, a full-time job after graduating college was at a call center. I had been working in radio, but I wasn't getting the benefits that I wanted. And I was driving all the way from Orange County to Burbank. And if you're familiar with Southern California, that is quite a trek. So I ended up taking a full-time job at a call center in Irvine with my bachelor's degree. It was not what I had planned to do with my life, but I wanted the money and I wanted the benefits. So, what do you learn from working in a call center? And when I say I used to work at a call center, people are like, "Really?" I don't know. Maybe that's just an unexpected job to have, but you can learn a lot from jobs like this. One of the main, probably there are so many skills that you learn from this job, but one of the main skills I learned is speaking with confidence because if I know what I'm talking about and I know I'm right, but I sound like very worried and uncertain of myself, the person on the other end of the phone, because they can't see me, they don't know anything. All they know me from is this call is going to think like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And they might just hang up and call right back. And when you work in a call center, you don't want the people you spoke to turn around and call right back because that means you didn't resolve their issue. I don't know how it is now. This is back in 2009 when I was working at a call center, but confidence is key. So even if you're not 110% sure about what you're talking about, and this goes for any profession, speaking with confidence makes inspires confidence in other people. When they hear you speaking in a matter of fact way that sounds like you know what you're talking about, they believe that you do in fact know what you're talking about. If I'm talking like this, but I have no idea what's going on, you might still believe me more than someone who sounds very uncertain and hemming and hawing and hold on, let me put you on hold like a million times, just checking and double checking what they're talking about. After working at the call center for a while, I eventually moved my way up and moved into technical support. So this was in the late 20s. So this was like 2010. We're learning to do tech support. And this is when, oh, this is making me feel really old. This is when cell phones first started having touch screens. And I worked for a wireless service provider. A lot of what we were doing in tech support was explaining to people on the phone how to use the touch screen of a phone. And I know saying that now, it's like we all innately feel like we know how to use a touch screen. And we see little kids that are like toddlers, they know how to navigate a touch screen. It wasn't like that in 2009 and 2010, okay? We were still learning. Imagine explaining this to someone without actually having the phone in your hand to demonstrate. Oh, my hand looks so big. So anyway, we had to describe to people how to do this. And I think we were talking about BlackBerry Storms at the time, and there was a couple other phones that had touchscreens. But being able to describe steps in a process using your words in an easy to understand way to a person who cannot see what you're describing is sounds like something you would never have to do, right? Wrong. Being able to describe steps in a process to someone that is not right in front of you, especially now with so many people working remotely, is such a skill that I don't know how, like, I honestly have no idea how I would have learned how to do that without being in technical support.
So we used to support people who had Wi-Fi devices in their homes to connect to with their computers. They were called Wi-Fi's at the time. Cell phones, laptops, all kinds of things.
If it was your phone, okay, what is on the screen? What are you looking at right now? What is the menu in front of you saying? And would try to walk people through step by step in a process of whatever it might be, making at the time it was like downloading ringtones or ringback tones or deleting applications off their phones or unsubscribing from premium SMS messages that were costing them $9.99 a month. If you're in Gen Z, you probably have no idea what a premium SMS is. But if you're a millennial, that might ring a bell to you. So these are kind of things we used to have to walk people through, and you have to be patient and be actively listening and also asking the correct questions so you're helping people do what they actually intend to do. I have no idea how I would have been able to learn that another day. So if you are currently working in a call center or you're working in tech support, I salute you because that is a very hard job, having done it myself. And make sure you be patient with these people. You don't know what kind of day they're having either, as the caller and as the person on the other end of the phone. The next lesson I will talk about learning from previous jobs. This actually would apply to
Retail, hospitality, and working in a call center.
and not reacting, just responding. And that is a really hard skill. It's really strange to get cussed out by a person that you've never met and will probably never meet over the phone. But it's even more strange getting cussed out face to face by a person you've never seen your whole life and we'll hopefully never see again reacting like this. These are the kind of interactions where your palms start sweating and you're like, can I afford to go to jail? So, no, the answer is no. No, you don't want to go to jail. You don't want to punch a customer's lights out. You don't want to put your hands on another person, period. But sometimes people are venting and you just happen to be the person that's taking it. And that's a hard place to be in. But when you are in that place, you have to have a sense of ownership. And that is something really hard to have when you're not at all involved in this person's problem or how they got to it, but not saying, oh, they did that over at that store, or that's what that person said on the phone, but that's not actually how it is. You need to respond with we. I don't mean yes in French. I mean, I'm sorry that we gave you that information. We misrepresented that. It's all about you as the person talking to this upset, angry person are the representative of the company to that person at that moment. So not passing the buck or saying, oh, you need to go back to talk to that person that told you that because I have no idea what they're talking about, or they have no idea what they're talking about. They're wrong. That's really not going to get you very far. It's going to piss people off even more. Trust me, because I've been cussed out by so many people for things I had nothing to do with. So I have a very high tolerance for getting cussed out. That's, I don't know. You don't really have to use that skill. Hopefully outside of these kind of jobs, for the most part, taking an ownership stance when someone is upset about something. So you can use this skill in all jobs. I use it many times in my more corporate roles, and using the term we as your team or we as a company, not them over, they did that in sales, but that's not what we do in finance, or they versus us versus them thing about people within the same organization. It leaves a really bad taste in the customer's mouth. So something to keep in mind if you're currently in a role like this where you're talking to people. I mean, this applies in all types of jobs. Great jobs, not so great jobs. I'm just out of college, I have no choice jobs, or I'm just doing this to get some extra cash jobs. Think of that the next time you're talking to someone that is not having a great day and happens to be taking it out on you. Again, if this has been helpful at all, if you are in a job that you are not super happy with right now, in the future, you may look back and be like, oh, I learned some really great things from that job. You might not feel like that this morning when you woke up. There are lessons to be learned in any and every job. So if this was helpful for you at all, or if you have any other questions about working at a call center, working in retail, or being a server, please leave them in the comments and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I share tips and tricks about personal finance and entrepreneurship because I resurrected my channel. So thanks for being here.